With fall camp in full swing, we are just 3 short weeks away from kicking off Georgia's 2023 football season. They may be the 3 longest weeks of the year, but they are still just 3 weeks nonetheless. And every time we get this close to another season, we reach the peak of that unique blend of curiosity and excitement over which incoming freshman will make the biggest impact on this year's team. And that curiosity and excitement comes from the fact that it's somebody every single year. Back in 2019, it was George Pickens. In 2021, it was Brock Bowers, taking the entire college football world by storm. Last year, it was Mykel Williams and Malaki Starks. In the past, it's been Todd Gurley and AJ Green and Nick Chubb and even Jake Fromm. The reality is, it's somebody every single year. So with that in mind, I put together my list of the 5 freshmen that I believe will make the biggest impact on the 2023 Georgia football team. Let's dive in.
We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
Coming in number 5 on my list is wide receiver Yazid, aka Zed Haynes. And as you might imagine, with Zed being at the bottom of my list, this is the one that I'm least confident in. And it's not that Yazid can't play, he's a talented player. It's more about the players in front of him. With a talented collection of playmaking veterans returning at the receiver position this season, it's just going to be difficult for Zed to make an impact at wide receiver in year 1. But there was a consistent buzz around his name throughout spring practice, and it really hasn't abated thus far through fall camp. He's got great speed, good twitch, really impressive ball skills. So while opportunities may be few and far between, when they do come his way, I've got a feeling he will make the most of them. But here is why he made my list. The return game. With Kearis Jackson off to the NFL, the kickoff return job is wide open. There are other contenders, don't get me wrong, but Yazid has the speed, the vision, and the instincts to win that job and make an impact in year 1. Next up, coming in at number 4 on my list is defensive lineman Jordan Hall. Now, I'm typically of the opinion that the defensive line and the offensive line are the positions that it's most difficult for a true freshman to come in and make an immediate impact because they are going against grown men in the trenches. But here's the thing, Jordan Hall is a grown man himself. There are players in front of him, and I have no expectation that he's going to start this year, but you don't have to start to make an impact. Georgia substitutes liberally along the defensive line, and Hall, with his size, his strength, his athleticism, that combination, he has a very strong chance to work himself into Georgia's rotation. He is not Jalen Carter, but from an ability to dominate standpoint, he might be the closest thing to Carter the Bulldogs have on the roster in 2023. Depending on how he takes to coaching and develops his technique and conditioning, the Florida native has a chance to develop into one of Georgia's more impactful defensive linemen as the season progresses. At number 3 on my list, I've got tight end Lawson Lucky. Now, based off of all the love he got throughout the spring and his impressive showing at Georgia's spring game, you might think this is a little bit low for Lucky. But you've got to remember, a big part of making an impact as a true freshman is having the opportunity to do so. And with Brock Bowers, perhaps the greatest tight end in college football history, still wearing the red and black, and Oscar Delp himself, a former number 1 tight end in the country, still on the team, there just might not be that many opportunities for Lucky to make the kind of impact that would have him higher on this list. Don't get me wrong. When he does get his chances, Lucky is going to produce. He is that good. He's got strong ball skills. He's a really underrated athlete. He's a willing and able blocker, which you have to be at the tight end position at Georgia. And he's one of those guys that carries a really strong work ethic. He's got what it takes. But with Bowers and Delp still in Athens, it might be year 2 before Lucky's impact is really felt. Next up, coming in at number 2 is running back Roderick Robinson out of the state of California. I understand this one might stir up some disagreement, so hear me out. Look, I'm not suggesting that Robinson is the second most talented player in Georgia's 2023 recruiting class. That's not what I'm suggesting. Let's remember what this is. This is a ranking of the 5 freshmen that I believe have a chance to make the biggest impact in year one. And to be able to make an impact in year one, you have to have the opportunity to do so. And that is exactly what Roderick Robinson has in front of him. With Kendall Milton's hamstring flaring up on him again, Branson Robinson still not cleared from the injury that he suffered during the latter parts of spring practice, and Andrew Paul still not 100% following the ACL tear that he suffered around this time last year, Roderick is going to have opportunities, at least early in the season. And if he makes the most of those opportunities, who knows? He might very well make himself a fixture in the Bulldog backfield. And when Branson Robinson and Kendall Milton and Andrew Paul get back to or closer to 100%, they might not be able to take carries away from Roderick Robinson. And holding down the top spot on my list of the 5 freshmen that will make the biggest impact on Georgia's 2023 football team is defensive back Janelle Aguero. Let's get this on the record right now. I love Janelle Aguero. He is the prototype that Georgia is looking for at the star position. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, which gives him the ability to fill against the run, but he's also a smooth enough athlete to be able to cover well enough in the slot to keep himself on the field. I don't expect him to win the star position coming out of fall camp, but he's also a very clear number 2 behind Tyke Smith. He's going to play early, and he's going to play often. And it honestly would not surprise me to see some type of rotation at star to open the season to give Aguero an opportunity to learn on the job. It's not a matter of physical ability. He is by far the superior athlete to Tyke Smith. For Janelle, it's all about learning the system and earning the coach's trust. And if he is able to do that, then he is going to eat more and more into Tyke Smith's snaps as the season progresses. We saw it last year with Malaki Starks and Dan Jackson, and we might very well see it again this year with Janelle Aguero and Tyke Smith at the star position. So that's the list. But before I get out of here, I do want to throw a couple of honorable mentions your way that just barely missed the cut. And I want to start with the jack linebacker position where we have a trio of freshmen, Damon Wilson, Samuel Mpimba, and Gabriel Harris, who are all very talented players, highly ranked prospects who have a chance to earn a role in this team, but there's just not as much opportunity there in my opinion. Chaz Chambliss is returning. The coaches love him. Marvin Jones Jr. is returning from injury with the labrum surgery. Darius Smith is going to factor in. He's got a full year in the system. Those 3, I believe, are going to be the top 3 at the jack linebacker position, with Harris and Mpimba and Wilson kind of filling in as needed. But those are talented players. You can't completely discount them. They just barely missed my cut. You also have to factor in the inside linebackers. I love Raylan Wilson. I love CJ Allen and Troy Bowles as well. He wasn't here for the spring, but he's a really talented player in his own right. Problem is, we already know who the stars are going to be. They're not going to start this year. We have, obviously, Pop Dumas Johnson, Smile Munden. Those will be the starters. Smile very well could miss some time to open the season. Xavier Sori has come on really strong in his 3rd year on campus, and he is probably going to start to open the season if Smile can't go. EJ Lightsey's another really talented player. But you can't discount the possibility that CJ Allen, Raylan Wilson, maybe even Bowles can find a way to work themselves into that 4-man rotation. I do believe we'll probably have a 4-man rotation. That's what we've had in the past. So they won't all work their way in the rotation, but there's a good chance that 1 or 2 of them will. And the last one I want to throw out here, you guys probably don't care about this that much. It's not a sexy position, but it's an important position. Kicker. Peyton Woodring is in a battle right now with Jared Zirkle to replace Jack Podlesny. That is an incredibly important position that I just don't think is getting enough talk right now. That very well could win or lose us some football games at some point this season, and Woodring is in the thick of that competition. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support. Thank you for coming on back and watching another episode. I'm going to keep rolling these out leading up to the 2023 football season. And during this season, I've got a lot of great plans for you guys, breaking down film, a lot of stuff that I can't do in the podcast. And speaking of the podcast, make sure you check out the Glory UGA podcast, wherever you get your podcast, for the most in-depth, hardcore Georgia football talk that you are going to find anywhere. It's made for diehard Georgia fans by diehard Georgia fans. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.